Resuming debate, the honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, I wish I could say that it was a pleasure to speak today, but it's certainly not the case tonight in the House. The news and the allegations from the RCMP are extremely concerning, and they must be taken seriously as opposed to what has taken place tonight in this House. And this debate is primarily about the Prime Minister, who has the power to take them seriously and has not done so. And any foreign interference from any country that we have been hearing about in this House, outside of this House, with this government for years, needs to be stopped. Our government's first job is to keep citizens safe from foreign threats. The very fact that we are here in this place debating such a serious issue demonstrates that the government has failed. Our government has failed in its obligation to keep this country safe and secure the integrity of our nation. And it's a natural consequence of 9 years of incompetence, of chaos, of an attitude that puts dividing the divisive nature of this Prime Minister over the security of the public. And we've seen it time and time again, and we've seen it particularly in the last year. Canada has become a playground for these activities. And you hear it, and the evidence is there, and multiple people have said it out loud on record, and still it's ignored. And while tonight's debate descends into unserious political distractions, Canadians need to know who knew what and when and why it took so long for the government to act. While we're here to address the allegations about foreign interference in India, this is about much more than that. It's certainly about India, but it's also about Beijing. It's about the tyrannical regime in Iran. It's about all of the times that our Prime Minister made a mockery of our democratic processes and, frankly, our values. Every Canadian should be concerned because it is putting our lives and our freedoms and our country at risk. The allegations that have been made are serious, incredibly so, and they should be investigated and pursued to the fullest extent of the law. As a country, we must stand resolutely against the attempts of other actors to interfere with the rights of our citizens and our democratic process. The idea that a foreign state would even attempt anything near these allegations certainly merits more than the anemic response provided by the Liberals at every turn over the last 9 years. Furthermore, any suggestion that individuals collaborated or colluded with these attempts or in any other attempts should be fully investigated and, again, pursued to the fullest extent of the law. That's really not up for debate. But here's what these suggestions should not be, Mr. Speaker. They should not be used as a means to score cheap political points that nobody is buying anymore, to divide our nation into smaller and smaller groups, into smaller and smaller factions. What this Prime Minister did when he appeared in front of Justice Hogue last week is exactly that. He went there with one mission: to level unfounded and unproven and unfair allegations against members of this party and members of his own party, casting aspersions. Now, you have to realize, Mr. Speaker, if you can't name the parliamentarians, then it should be equally it should be equally wrong to say anything about them or say what you know or their party affiliations. And he frankly cast aspersions on the entire House and then walked away from the podium. It's behavior like that that is unbecoming of a Prime Minister and that has made a mockery of this whole process. And if you look outside of this House and you listen to what people are saying, it has made a mockery of this entire issue. And that's unfortunate because it is a serious one. He should be less focused on trying to make this a mockery, and he should be more focused on the serious implications that this has for our national interest. He is more than just the Liberal Party leader. I don't know how long he's going to be the Liberal Party leader. He is the Prime Minister, and he should remember that. But I suspect it might be difficult when his caucus is revolting against him, and he needs to focus at least a little bit of attention elsewhere for the first time. You know, my parents always told me growing up that if you're going to make a serious allegation about, conservatives being part of something, you would need some evidence to back it up. And that's what we're asking for. We're asking for him to release the names. If you have evidence about what the Prime Minister has said, has made claims about other MPs in this House, then he should release the names. And we all know that he can do that. We're asking the Prime Minister to release the names of the individuals that have been accused so that we can deal with the actual problem, so that we can move forward constructively. That's what Canadians want to know on this and on the matter at hand. But he won't, because this is another crass and pathetic attempt by the Prime Minister to divide and to distract and to deflect his mistakes. Maybe they're not mistakes. Maybe it is an intentional hiding of the facts that he has known for a very, very long time, rather than trying to fix the issue at hand or looking serious while doing it. He's trying to cover up the fact that his caucus is in open revolt of his leadership, and this is a convenient distraction. He's trying to cover up for the fact that he's destroyed our economy through higher taxes, higher inflation, higher government spending. He's trying to cover up for his own failures in protecting this country and safeguarding the rights of Canadians. And while this is behavior that is unbecoming, we really shouldn't be surprised from this Prime Minister. It's probably even benefited him electorally in his prospects. Otherwise, why hide anything at all? The opposition parties have acquiesced to his tactics of swearing them into secrecy so they can't do their jobs and they can't effectively prove their case. And that's been proven tonight over and over again, where any opposition leader who bothered to speak in this House to this motion couldn't hold the government to account. And if they really knew that there was something in the documents, then rather than sitting back, they would have asked the government what they have done about this, and it is exactly nothing. The Liberals have muzzled their opposition so they can continue to turn a blind eye at the obvious wrongdoing that has and they've brought the cabal along with them to acquiesce to all of this. They used to be members of an actual opposition that could hold the government to account, and now they've been silenced. And you didn't have to look very far to see that they have been completely ineffective at prosecuting this government's failure on foreign interference. After all, it's this Prime Minister who turned a blind eye when foreign interference was coming from Beijing, when the communist dictatorship was spreading misinformation and even buying Liberal Party memberships to influence nomination races. To that I say, release the names. This is the Prime Minister who took 6 years to declare the IRGC a terrorist organization that we all know that they are. And they still use Canada as their safe haven to fundraise, to recruit, to intimidate our own citizens, and to possibly play a role in our electoral process. To that I say, release the names. And it is this Prime Minister who employed the Emergencies Act, trampling the rights and freedoms of Canadians for purely political opinions when they didn't agree with them. And to that, Canadians say, release the names. This is the Prime Minister's whose ministers mysteriously sat on a CSIS surveillance warrant on a Liberal power broker for 54 days. To that I say, release the names. And this is a Prime Minister who appointed Liberal insiders and personal friends to investigate the misdeeds of his own government. These are the things that happened under the Prime Minister's watch, and it's his weak leadership that is the reason why it is happening more and more. Our adversaries know that Canada is an easy target and that they can get away with almost anything here. The Prime Minister is actively in the process of proving them right at every single turn. We have a common sense ask of the Prime Minister. It is release the names. Canadians want to know. Release the names of the individuals who have collaborated with Beijing against Canada. Release the names of the individuals who have collaborated with India against Canada. Release the names of all of the people who knowingly and wittingly work with hostile foreign states for personal gain. It is an easy thing to do. The Prime Minister did it once in the House of Commons already. He can do it again, but he won't. Prime Minister doesn't seem to want to do that. He seems to want to continue this sideshow, the political theater, as long as possible, because it allows him not to talk about the issues that he doesn't want to talk about, because he's lost all semblance of control. He looks unhinged.
That's right.
Rather that he continues to insist on some nonsensical argument about secret briefings when he can walk over right here, 2 sword lengths apart, 10 steps at best. He's actually pretty tall, so it's probably less than 10 steps, and he can tell the Leader of the Opposition exactly what the problem is, and he won't do that. You know why? It's because he's using this for political gain. If the member from Carleton takes the briefing by admission of the Prime Minister's own Chief of Staff, he will be unable to speak about the results or act upon them, just like the Prime Minister has failed to do. He can't do that in any way. His own office says that. In fact, the former leader of the NDP says that too. He deserves the information and not the handcuffing. The CSIS Act actually allows for this. The CSIS Act allows for anybody to offer any information on anybody about the risks of foreign interference without forcing them into sworn secrecy. And I will repeat that. The CSIS Act actually allows the Prime Minister to walk over here and tell the Leader of the Opposition everything he needs to know. But you know why he's not doing that? Because he doesn't want to deal with the problem in his own caucus. But the government insists again and again on secrecy without ever telling us why. I'll tell you why, Mr. Speaker. It's because he's hiding things from Canadians once again. It's because he is scared. It's because he has benefited from it politically. So we'll have to ask, what is the Prime Minister hiding? What is he so scared of? We know that there are individuals from all parties who are rumored to be implicated. But Conservatives aren't scared of anything. If the government acted, Canadians wouldn't be asking questions about why they're keeping secrets. And I think everybody would be better off. Every single member of Parliament that has now had the Prime Minister cast aspersions on them. That's irresponsible behavior from a Prime Minister. The sooner the names are released, the sooner we can take action to ensure that our institutions and our political parties are free from interference. But otherwise, it's going to get way worse from a variety of actors, from a variety of places. Because like I said, they know that Canada is an easy place to do their dirty deeds. Tonight's debate is another example of how the Prime Minister has failed on foreign interference. The Prime Minister at the Hague Commission admitted that our intelligence agencies have been gathering information for years that India has been committing foreign interference on Canadian soil. Yet, it is clear that he did nothing to act on it, even after a real and present danger to Canadians was known, and an act was carried out. And people have lost lives. Even when provided with the opportunity to protect Canadians against extortion, one of the violent actions that the RCMP has accused Indian officials of engaging in, they voted against the bill. It was a bill by my co-deputy leader from Edmonton, Bill C-381, the Protection Against Extortion Act, and every single one of them voted against it. I mean, some didn't show up, but the rest voted against it. The United States managed to thwart an assassination attempt on American soil, and Canada was unable to do so. And when the issue of Chinese interference came up, the Prime Minister tried to claim that it didn't exist. and then that had been exposed as an outright falsehood. His government stalled for years on the creation of a foreign influence registry, and it was only ever introduced as a result of conservative pressure.
That's right.
His government also did everything it could to avoid a public inquiry into foreign interference. Do you remember the special rapporteur, friends, ski, chalet? Conservatives' pressure made sure that this was a full and open public inquiry so that everybody can see. And it is clear that they've been ignoring the issue of interference. Just look at what's happening in our streets right now. Take a look at the international terrorist organizations parading their slogans throughout Canadian streets, the ones designated as non-for-profits not so long ago. Take a look at the increasing violence and crime driven by multinational gangs and cross-border smuggling. Just take a look at the country's reputation, lying in shambles on the floor of the international community. And it's only going to get worse. But the government continues to sit around and pretend like nothing's wrong. Right. They passed Bill C-5 and Bill C-75, making it easier for violent criminals to get released back in the streets again and again, while only being punished with a slap on the wrist. They repealed mandatory minimums for crimes like extortion with a firearm.
Shameful.
They voted against Bill C-381, which would bring back this mandatory minimum punishment for extortion and implement even more tools for prosecutors and for police to go after ringleaders and multinational gangs. Extortion is 5 times higher than it was 10 years ago. But they are voting against the very things that they could be doing to stop all of this, while pretending to have a debate, to say the right things, to placate the Canadian public in leading them to believe that they have acted when they have not. Are they going to empower CSIS or the RCMP to be able to do their jobs rather than interfering in the work of those security agencies? Or are they going to do a better job at screening the individuals coming into our country? How about tracking down the 1 million people that they lost and they still can't find? We need a real decisive action to fix this problem. We need to enforce laws that we have on the books. We need to stand strong against interference, not cover up allegations and hide the evidence. We need Canadians to trust that everybody here is doing the right thing, and we need our rights and our integrity back. A common-sense Conservative government will put those criminals in jail where they belong.
Hear, hear.
We'll take action whenever and wherever we are notified, despite the Prime Minister's inability to walk across the floor and tell the Leader of the Opposition what the problem is. We will work with the RCMP and CSIS and not against them. And we will uphold the integrity of this country by running a government for all Canadians. And it starts with releasing the names for the good of our political system, for our values, for our country, for the good of accountability to the people. Release the names, I say to the Prime Minister. Anything short of that tells everyone what they already know. They are hiding from accountability, and Canadians simply deserve better, Mr. Speaker.